Hello everyone, Keir Smith here, back with another video. So, the Oasis reunion tour is now in full swing. They've just played 2 nights on July the 4th and 5th to sold out crowds with rapturous applause at Cardiff's Principality Stadium in Wales. Now, I'm a lifelong fan of the band, right from the start with Definitely Maybe up to the bitter end with Dig Out Your Soul. And I posted a video maybe 9 or 10 months ago now when the reunion was announced, saying that I wasn't as mad for it as everyone else was. I've seen the band live 3 times back in their heyday, on 1997's Be Here Now tour, 2002's Heathen Chemistry tour, and in 2006 on the Don't Believe the Truth tour. And I was one of the few that maybe cynically said that I hoped that they'd never get back together and that they should let sleeping dogs lie. And I'd sort of held Noel Gallagher to his word. He said that they'd never do it, and it didn't interest him. But of course, with time, all things change, and of course, Noel Gallagher recently got divorced and that cost him a pretty penny. And then all of a sudden, the Gallagher brothers are making up and there's a huge world tour announced. And the cynic in me said that this is clearly covering the cost of Noel's divorce. But with my cynicism put firmly to one side, this is, admittedly, a big moment for a lot of people, especially the fans that didn't get to see them first time around. In that video I posted last year, I questioned who would even be in the band. Would it be a case of Oasis picking up where they left off back in 2008-2009, or would it have fresh members? Which begs the question, is it even going to be Oasis, or is this simply a Liam and Noel vanity project? But most important, and that brings me to the topic of today's video, what was the set list going to be like? The, by now, well-worn narrative is that Oasis put out these 2 albums, Definitely Maybe in 1994 and What's the Story Morning Glory in 1995, and that they are the 2 best Oasis albums and everything after sort of fades away. And that's basically what we get fed time and time again. Whenever Oasis name crops up, people will naturally always refer to Definitely Maybe and What's the Story Morning Glory. They'll say that Be Here Now is where they started to tail off, and pretty much everything after that, 4 albums worth of songs, is largely ignored. And I thought to myself, if this is one big final world tour, personally I don't hold out any hope that Oasis are going to go back into the studio together and record any new material. So if this was to be one last tour, what would the set list be? And I feared that, as I mentioned in that video, that it would be 2/3 of songs from 1994 to 1996. And so, with great interest but a little bit of trepidation, I was very keen to look up the set list for the first night in Cardiff. Now, I'm sure that I'm going to be one of the few people that post a video like this, but I saw that set list and I thought, oh God, that is so predictably boring and almost inevitable, I guess. A set list made up entirely of songs by Oasis from 1994 to 1997, save for Little by Little from 2002's Heathen Chemistry album. I said back then when the reunion was announced that I could probably predict 2/3 of the set list, if not 3/4. But crikey, over 95% of the set list is made up from 1994 to 1997. Oasis went for another 11 years after that. And that's exactly what I feared when the reunion tour was announced and why I wasn't keen to get a ticket. I thought to myself, this will be a tour put on not for the lifelong fans, but entirely for the modern day fans to fit in with that well-worn narrative. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some great songs across those first 2 albums. Of course there are, and some amazing B-sides that weren't included on the albums. But come on, why would the Gallagher brothers neglect all of that fantastic material across those 4 albums, Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, Heathen Chemistry, Don't Believe the Truth, and my personal favourite Oasis album, Dig Out Your Soul? Like I say, I'm a big fan of the band and I love the entire discography, and I just fear now that more than ever, this will resign those aforementioned 4 albums to the history books forever. The well-worn narrative of Oasis 94 to 96, 97 will continue forever. That was the band, and everything after, don't worry about that. And I just want to make this point that all 7 of Oasis' studio albums got to number 1 on the UK album charts. Admittedly, Definitely Maybe and What's the Story Morning Glory are the band's 2 most popular albums, but all 7 of them sold really well. And another point that I wanted to make was that I think Oasis had a total of 8 UK number one singles, and by the end of 1997 they had only had 3. Some might say Don't Look Back in Anger, both from What's the Story, Morning Glory, and Do You Know What I Mean from Be Here Now. I knew that the set list was going to be 94 to 96 heavy especially, but I thought that they'd represent the other albums with at least one song from each of those albums, at least, surely. But no, the setlist was very much for the modern fan, and it was 94 to 97 heavy. A very short period of the band's lifespan. And Liam Gallagher did that tour celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Much Loved Definitely Maybe album, and he played the album in its entirety. Another show that I was keen to avoid. Why, oh why, oh why must we be beaten over the head time and time again with Definitely Maybe and Morning Glory? Is that all there is? Yeah, but Keir, it's what the fans want. Is it? Is it really? Not this fan. So anyway, the point of this video is that I looked at that set list I think 3 times and got more and more annoyed by it each time and thought, right, I'm going to remove some songs and put some other songs in from those other less regarded albums. So anyway, I'm going to run through this set list real quick, and like I say, there's a lot of great songs here, don't get me wrong. So the band come on to Fucking in the Bushes, which is the opening track of Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. They don't play the track, but it's on the loudspeaker as the band come on stage. Okay, great. Hello is the opening track, followed by Acquiesce, a B-side. Morning Glory, great song. Some Might Say, number 1 single. Bring It On Down, great one from Definitely Maybe. Cigarettes and Alcohol, not bothered about that. Fade Away, that's not even a good B-side. They could have chose any number of songs to replace that. Supersonic, great. Roll With It, that's an average Oasis song if you ask me. Talk Tonight, fair inclusion. I know a lot of people really like that song. My brother Liam is a big fan of that song. Then we get Half the World Away. Like we need to hear that again. Little by Little, the standalone song from Heathen Chemistry, and a great song too. Oasis did exist after 1997. Followed by Do You Know What I Mean and Stand By Me, 2 big singles from the Be Here Now album. Cast No Shadow, again from Morning Glory. Not sure why that was included. Not a bad song, but by no means a great Oasis song, but it's from Morning Glory, so I guess it has to be included, doesn't it? Slide Away, great song. Whatever, nice inclusion. Big single for the band, standalone single from that 94 to 95 period. Live Forever, great song, and they finished, at least went off the stage to Rock and Roll Star before a big encore. And the encore was The Master Plan, an amazing song, a top 10 Oasis song in my book, followed by the obvious Don't Look Back in Anger, Wonderwall, and thank God they finished with one better, with the brilliant Champagne Supernova. Don't Look Back in Anger is a great song, don't get me wrong, it is. It's a wonderful song. When I go and watch Noel live, as I have done 3 times now, he plays it slightly different, slightly more low-key, and it's really nice. You can see he's trying to breathe new life into the song. But my word, Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger, they are played to death. Anyway, 23 songs they played in total, and it's a good set list. I can't argue with that. It's got plenty of great songs there. But as I said, the reason why I didn't get a ticket is because I feared that that would be the case, and I didn't want to stand there and puff my cheeks out like I'm doing now and being a little bit disgruntled by it all. And so what I wanted to do was elbow 10 of those songs out of the set list and replace them with 10 choices of my own from those aforementioned, less regarded, latter 4 albums. Thus making up a set list that shows Oasis in all of their glory. Actually, I'm only going to give the elbow to 9 songs. I was going to elbow whatever, but that is a really great Oasis song, and I don't think they played that one much live, so we'll leave that one in. And trust me, if I was writing my own personal favourite set list, then I could have elbowed a good few more. But believe it or not, I am trying to be objective here. I appreciate that the early years of the band do matter an awful lot to a lot of people, and some fans did lose a little bit of interest after the first 3 or 4 albums. So from this set list, I'm going to remove Some Might Say, Cigarettes and Alcohol, Fade Away most definitely, Roll With It most definitely, Talk Tonight, Half the World Away, Stand By Me. There are many better songs on Be Here Now than Stand By Me, but it was a big hit single, so alright, I can see why it was included. Cast No Shadow, that can go, and most definitely Wonderwall. Absolutely. I'm going to leave Don't Look Back in Anger in there. I think you have to leave one of those two in there. I knew they were going to play both, obviously, but for me, Wonderwall can go and take a running jump. When I first heard the album back in 1995, no one had that song down as a favourite until it got released as a single, and then it just blew up. I think the thing with that song is both the guys and girls liked it, and I think once you've got the attention of both, the song takes on a life of its own. But honestly, I never paid that song much mind and never have. And so I would have included Columbia from Definitely Maybe, which is a big song, a big wall of sound thing, and a big fan's favourite. And the band played no fewer than 8 songs from What's the Story, Morning Glory, so it was impossible to wedge anything else in there from that. But from Be Here Now, I would have loved to have seen My Big Mouth included. And from Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, I would have included the #1 single, Go Let It Out, for familiarity reasons, if not the amazing Gas Panic. And from Heathen Chemistry, all 4 of those singles were really big off that album. They did include Little by Little, but I would have included a personal favourite of mine, The Hindu Times. I know that Songbird, the one that Liam wrote, was an immensely popular song, as was the brilliant Stop Crying Your Heart Out. How good could that have been? Stop Crying Your Heart Out instead of Cast No Shadow or Fade Away? I think so. And from Don't Believe the Truth, I would have included another single, The Importance of Being Idle, which of course Noel sings in that wonderful falsetto voice. And from the band's final album, Dig Out Your Soul, I would have definitely included the lead-off single, The Shock of the Lightning, which is an amazing song, possibly my favourite Oasis single. And another track from that album, because for me, it really shouldn't be ignored. A song called The Turning, which, if you don't know it, go ahead and give it a listen. That is an immense Oasis song. So potentially you would be losing, some might say, for Columbia, Cigarettes and Alcohol for The Shock of the Lightning, Roll With It for Go Let It Out, Talk Tonight for Songbird, Stand By Me for My Big Mouth, Half the World Away for The Hindu Times, Cast No Shadow for The Importance of Being Idle, Wonderwall. Would you trade Wonderwall for The Turning? Trust me, if you knew The Turning like I do, then you could pass on hearing Wonderwall for the millionth time in favour of The Turning. And The Turning could tee up the big finale that is Champagne Supernova too. And finally, I'm sure most Oasis fans would trade Fade Away for Stop Crying Your Heart Out, surely. Now I'm sure that those attending these concerts will lap up every note of every song that is played in these set lists. But for me, I would have liked to have seen a career-spanning set list, a better definition of the band. And I know a good few people that are going to these shows, including my brother Liam, and I will tell him not to watch this video because he's keen not to see the set list before he goes. And I reckon he'll be largely pleased with the set list. He likes most of those early songs, but I'm sure even he will come away and say, yeah, they could have and maybe should have included a few more from those latter albums. But as I said, sadly, I do think that this is a set list designed for the modern day narrative and the modern day fan. And I'm sad to say that cheesed me off a bit. But of course, I'm not going to these shows, and I wish that everyone who is going to these shows a fine evening's entertainment, and I'm sure they'll get that. So all that leaves me to say is thank you so much for watching this video. I hope some of you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for my next video sometime soon. Until then, bye for now.